Hi, my name is Kendall Hope Tucker, as Ralph said, and I'm the founder and CEO of Polis. So, at the age of 16, I became passionate about politics, and nothing matters more in politics than your grit to knock on doors. As I rose through the ranks, from intern to field director to campaign manager and ultimately to candidate, I learned the values of looking people in the eye, listening to what they care about, and engaging with them until I was sure that I could count on their vote. Like many greats before now, I realized that door knocking had the power to change the world. So in 1832, do you recognize him? Instead of driving his car between houses, Abraham Lincoln rode his horse to knock on doors while campaigning for Congress in Illinois. Although he ultimately lost that election and then two more as well, I truly believe that if he had been using Polis, he would have won. This trend has continued with all of the most successful candidates that we've seen in the United States. The problem is that now it's 2016, and we're talking about big data, and we're talking about technology, so people think that door knocking is a thing of the past. So where does that leave us? Technology and data has enabled campaigns to target, test, and personalize messages so that voters feel that candidates are genuinely their friends and sometimes their personal enemies. American political technology has come a very long way since I was born. When I was born, these three men were vying for the American presidency. I looked like this, so I don't remember it, but I would love to speak to you about the changes we've seen in American political technology since I was born. So, 1992, we have three men running for the American presidency: George H.W. Bush, Ross Perot, and Bill Clinton. Each of these candidates used new technology in fascinating ways. This was the first American election where they really think technology decided the result. So, not sure if any of you know each of these things, but President Bush was the first president to pay cable television to have his speeches live on TV. Bill Clinton was the first one to hold teleconferences live on TV and ask for donations at the bottom. And then Ross Perot was actually the most famous for running TV ads with an 800 number at the bottom, saying, "Call in, we'll tell you about the issue you personally care about, and then we're going to solicit donations." The New York Times pointed out that each of these pieces of technology were important because it was personalizing the election to the voter. So, fast forward 8 years, it's the dawn of the internet. Al Gore became famous for saying that he personally created the internet. But what was more interesting than that was actually Governor George Bush. Governor George Bush raised cyber cash through the internet. He made innovative use of phone-based technology through the computer and for Get Out the Vote initiatives. So both of these campaigns, the internet had been born about 2 years before, knew that this was critical to winning the election. But ultimately, the end of our history lesson is 2008. 2008 is the year that everyone says that technology won the election for President Barack Obama. President Obama, he used Facebook, he used texting, he used many different tools that I'm sure you've already heard about to get out the vote. Senator John McCain similarly was using fascinating data technology and building a database for the Republican Party that's still in use today. So where does that leave us? Where does that leave us? It leaves us at micro-targeting. So micro-targeting is the idea that you can choose a group of people and understand what they're going to care about based on who they are. You can target down to a zip +4 or a demographic group, and you can guess which issues they care about, what will get them to vote, and what will get them to donate to your campaign. So door knocking's dead, right? We know how to do it. We can text people. We can call them. We can reach out to them via the internet. So I've talked about this. We have phone calling. We have the TV, and we have internet, and door knocking is dead. What I would say to you, and this may surprise you, and it's still a big data issue, is that phone calling now, the effectiveness of calling someone on their home phone, is about 0% effective in getting someone to support your candidate or turn them out to vote. No one answers their home phone anymore. Watching TV is about 1% effective, but that still puts it in the margin of error that your TV ad that costs you over $1 million, and I know you don't do it as much here, didn't affect the voter. They didn't care. An internet ad, this changes people's minds 5% of the time. This is great. It's cost effective. You should definitely do it. But does that 5% actually matter? Knocking on a door, talking to someone face to face, getting that trust and connection with the campaign, that makes someone 20% more likely to support your candidate or cause. There's a trust that comes from sitting in the same room with someone or looking them in the eye, listening to what they care about, and engaging with them about your candidate or solution. Don't believe me? The private sector gets it. In America, in the last 5 years, door-to-door sales has been growing 34% year over year. We have cable companies, telecoms, solar, number of different industries going door to door, knocking on your door and saying, hey, your roof looks great for solar panels. We'll get you a 60% discount from the government. Would you like to buy? And they are making hundreds of millions of dollars every year. But are these guys doing it? So as you know, I'm hoping some of you watched the debate in the middle of last night. We have 3 people running for president in America right now. We have Secretary Clinton, who's polling at 44%. Donald Trump is polling at 40%, and it's lowering fast. And Governor Gary Johnson, who's polling at 8%. So how are they doing at door knocking? Hillary Clinton has field offices all over the country. She has almost all 50 states, and in each of those states, she's leading people to get out the vote. Donald Trump has fewer field offices. Each of these circles indicates how many offices they have in a state. He has fewer, and he has decided not to knock doors, because why knock doors when you have Twitter? What I can speak most about is Governor Gary Johnson. So Governor Gary Johnson's campaign has been doing poorly in the last few weeks. But before that, they came to us a number of months ago, and they said, we need help. We know that door knocking is how we are going to motivate the libertarian cause and how we will get disgruntled Republicans and Bernie supporters to support a third-party candidate. Their problem was that they had 15 staffers and 50,000 people signed up to volunteer. If you do those numbers, this really doesn't work out. So traditionally, the way a door-knocking campaign would be run would be that you have a campaign manager. He gives information to the data director. The data director decides who they're going to target and tells the campaign manager what their goals are. They then take these goals and they send them to the field offices. The field offices then take that and spread it out through the community where they're going to build the list, print the list, get people excited to go out and vote. You then bring the activists in, and they're the ones who are actually going to knock on doors and record responses on paper. When they are done knocking doors, they bring it back to the field office where you put it into the system and you get your data back. All of this results in one 9 a.m. canvas. If you're doing out the math for the Gary Johnson campaign, that means each of their staffers would have had to work over 100 hours per day to motivate all of their volunteers to get out and knock doors. This clearly was not a feasible solution, and they were not going to win. This is what Polis did for them instead. So Polis starts by identifying voters likely to support a campaign or a cause. What you're seeing right now is honing in on voters in my hometown of Boston who are high income and likely to donate to a campaign. What you'll see is you mouse over someone and you can see their individual information. I wish I had anonymized this. I definitely did not. You see their individual information and you can decide if that's someone likely to support your campaign or cause. I see you taking photos of my unanonymized information. Then what you do is you decide who can campaign for your campaign. So you're seeing everyone who's signed up to knock doors, and then you can activate them. And lastly, you decide what questions you're going to ask people, and this is, apologies, a private sector account, but what questions you're going to ask people based on what they care about. For Gary Johnson's campaign, we decided there were 3 major categories of voters who were likely to support the candidate. We have Bernie Sanders supporters who are disgruntled by what happened in the Democratic primary. We have disgruntled Republicans, which is pretty much everyone right now. And we have independent voters. For each of those doors, when you knock on it, you want to ask different questions. When you knock on a Bernie Sanders supporter's door, you say, what happened to the revolution? Did you know that there's someone out there who's still working for you and what you care about? When you knock on a disgruntled Republican's door, you can imagine what the line of reasoning is. Lastly, we give our canvassers this. So they download Polis from the App Store for free. They log in, and once they're given access, they can generate an optimized route from wherever they live at the click of a button, and it will tell them where to go, who to talk to, and what to say. So let's say I'm knocking on your door, and you're available. I knock on your door, and I say, are you voting in the upcoming election? You're not, because you're German. Yeah. Regardless, do you support Gary Johnson for president? I think you feel all right about it. What issues do you care about? I'm guided through all of this, and then my manager is watching exactly what I'm doing in real time. So they know who I'm talking to and how the results are coming back in, and this is all grounded in big data. So, how's it going? It's going great for Gary Johnson's campaign. He keeps saying things on TV. I don't know if you've been following this. They're not great. I shouldn't say that in public. But his supporters are out there every day talking to people. We know exactly how well he's doing in each of the states, and we know that he's going to do astonishingly well in Utah. We're really hoping we can win Utah. So I can speak more to that campaign. As you can imagine, it works equally as well for local campaigns, and that's really where we got our start. I hadn't put this in the presentation. I did run for local office at the age of 20-ish, and I won. So I was a local committee woman in Massachusetts for 2 years before resigning because I think the system's really broken. But for a local campaign, you can imagine you're a candidate, your friends love you, everyone wants to help you, and they have no idea how. And so the way we work with those campaigns is we give them Polis. They download the app from the App Store. We get them data that pertains to whichever party or people they support. And then their friends and family log into the app, they click Get Started, and they knock doors. But I think what's more relevant for this discussion is whether this pertains to you. So I got invited to speak at this conference, let's say 2 months ago. I have a very good friend from Hamburg who lives in Boston now. So I sent him the email and I said, should I go? He said, you should go because Berlin's great. It is. But it won't be relevant to your business because Germans don't knock doors. I said, okay. I'm still going to go because I like Berlin. But what I've found, and I've done a lot of research between now and then, is it's true, you don't have the tradition that we have, but some parties have been testing it. So the Green Party in 2011 decided to knock 5,000 doors in Berlin. They had been hearing about the 2008 campaign, and they knew that there was something there. So they knocked 5,000 doors in Berlin, and they ended up speaking with 735 voters. Ultimately, the way that they tested it, they believed that that led to 35% more votes in that very localized area. It's a small test, but they were certainly excited about it. Then, the Socialist Party decided in the last election to knock 3 million doors. Much more substantial test, and you can tell me how that went. My understanding is that they gained 47 seats. So I don't want to talk about how you've been knocking doors. I'd much rather hear it for myself from you. But I do think there's room in Germany for this to be a success. I understand that data privacy laws are different, and I'm happy to get into how we get data and how we protect data, because that's an incredibly important part of the platform and running a respectful campaign. But what I'd have to say from the reading I've done is that some parties are going to pick this up and understand that being in someone's face and engendering trust and making a relationship with a voter is by far more substantial than running TV ads or digital ads. The likelihood of someone remembering when you look them in the eye and you talk about something you're passionate about is much higher when you're actually standing at their door. So the last thing I hear from Germans is, we can't canvass because it's too expensive. You don't understand because we spend $30 million in our campaigns when you spend $1 billion. I agree. But we're spending $1 billion because in America, we spend all of that money on television. It's a tremendous waste of money, and it's the reason why I have numerous times quit politics. So here's the problem. Viewership of TV all over the world is declining fast. But the cost of TV ads are going way up. It just doesn't make sense anymore. Similarly, digital ads, the viewership is about the same, but cost continues to rise as we read fewer and fewer sites. So, what's the cost of canvassing? We pay our canvassers anywhere from volunteer status to about $10 per hour. In 1 hour, a canvasser can knock 20 houses. In Berlin, it's probably a bit more. In rural places, it's certainly a bit less. So in Germany, if we wanted to target every single voter, bless you, if we wanted to target every single voter, 44 million people who voted in your last election, which would be ridiculous, it would cost $11 million. If instead you decided to data target and only contact the median voter, people would actually be swayed by having the conversation, you're looking at far less money than that. So, some takeaways. Door knocking is by far the most effective method of voter communication. I'm glad that I walked in at the end of the last speech. I couldn't understand a word that was being said, but he had some books on the screen that hopefully he wasn't just vastly insulting. Where those political scientists from Yale have tested this over and over again, and each time they find that talking to people at the doors makes them between 12 and 20% more likely to vote. You're not going to get numbers like that anywhere else that you look. Second, door knocking engenders trust. It engenders people to remember what you're talking about, and it raises approval ratings even for people currently in office. A big push we have in the States right now is that every 4 years, the election is huge, and everyone's door gets knocked on, and you feel so invested in what's happening in the campaign, and then it goes dark. So while your legislators are working and while your executive is passing bills or vetoing them, you hear nothing. And lastly, door knocking needs to be done in a time and cost-effective manner. If you are knocking every door, you are turning out the competition to go vote. We've had so many campaigns that, let's say you're working for Hillary Clinton and you start reminding Republicans to go out and vote. It's not a great strategy. So you need to use the best technology. I think Polis is great. I can talk to you about other solutions as well. But overall, just remember that data is key to door knocking, but door knocking is also key to data. So I wanted to keep this short so I could take questions. Obviously, I'm not totally familiar with this group. But my takeaway and what you should all remember is that opportunity is knocking.
Merci.